What would you do if you discovered that you were losing your most powerful energy without even realizing it? What if I told you that this loss could be sabotaging your mental clarity, your willpower, and even your connection with the world? Creator of the universe. Does it seem exaggerated? Samuel TISSOT, a renowned 18th-century physician, believed that semen retention was one of the best-kept secrets to vitality and success. Today, modern science is beginning to confirm that there is something very real about this. But why doesn't anyone talk about it? We live in a world that encourages instant pleasure and energy depletion without question. Social media, pornography, and constant stimulation train us to seek immediate gratification while our life force slips through our fingers. The result? An army of tired people, without focus, without energy, and without purpose. But what if there is a way to recover that energy and transform it into power, of course? Butterflies. The ancients already knew this, and TISSOT was one of the first to bring this knowledge to medicine. In this video, you will understand that semen retention is one of the most efficient ways to restore your energy, strengthen your mind, and reach a new level of consciousness. Forget what you've been taught on this subject. The truth may be very different from what you imagine. What if I told you that great leaders, academics, and wise men throughout history have already applied this knowledge to stand out? Stay with me until the end and discover why this could be the key to destroying your full potential. In the 18th century, Samuel TISSOT became one of the most influential figures in medicine by addressing topics that few dared to touch. His vision was clear. The human body needed balance to achieve true peace and prosperity. He believed that certain habits could drain man of vitality and impede his connection with the higher forces of the world. Creator of the universe. This approach was not only scientific, but also spiritual, as, for him, physical health and spiritual energy were interconnected. In times where science and faith often collided, TISSOT found a middle ground that defied convention. When studying human behavior, TISSOT realized that excesses were the great villains of vitality. He analyzed patterns of physical and mental exhaustion and linked these factors to a loss of vital force. Many of his contemporaries rejected the idea, but he was convinced that there was a direct link between certain practices and manipulation of the body and mind. And, in fact, today modern science proves that some of his hypotheses were not so wrong after all. How often do people feel drained, without energy, without purpose? Maybe what they really need is to recover this internal connection with the light that strengthens them. TISSOT's teachings were not limited to paper. He influenced doctors, philosophers, and even religious leaders. His concern for human vitality went beyond the physical. He knew that a weak body reflected a weakened mind. It is a weakened mind that becomes vulnerable and easy to manipulate. Do people really understand the impact their choices have on their vital energy these days? The answer may lie in something much deeper than they imagine. In 1760, Samuel TISSOT published Onanismo, a book that involved great uproar as it addressed a controversial topic at the time. He not only described the practice, but made direct connections between it and a possible loss of physical and mental vitality. For TISSOT, the body's energy was a treasure given by the Creator of the universe, and wasting it irresponsibly resulted in a weakening that affected all areas of life. Many criticized him, claiming his ideas were extreme, but the impact of his book was undeniable. After all, are there invisible consequences that modern society insists on ignoring? The reactions to the work were intense. While some scholars applauded his scientific approach, others accused him of exaggeration. But TISSOT didn't back down. He believed there was something bigger in the game. His theory was not just biological, but spiritual and energetic. The man who indulged in excess, according to him, gave up his peace interior and its connection with higher forces. And if we look at the world today, we see that many people live exhausted, without energy and without clarity of purpose. What is draining this essential energy? Many of TISSOT's statements may seem radical to contemporary eyes, but one question remains: to what extent the loss of vital energy impacts forests and the well-being of an individual? If we look at ancient spiritual traditions, we see that different cultures also warned about the risks of wasting energy. What was previously treated as superstition is now supported by neuroscience and bioenergy. Was TISSOT right in his concern? This is a question that continues to echo through the centuries. From a young age, TISSOT demonstrated an insatiable thirst for knowledge. His academic journey began at the renowned University of Geneva, where he studied medicine with some of the greatest thinkers of the time. He did not see science just as a set of formulas and diagnoses, but as a means of understanding the connection between body, mind, and spirit. For him, true health involved more than just curing disease. It was about cultivating a balanced life, where peace interior and harmony with the creator of the universe were fundamental. His learning was not restricted to books. After completing his studies, he traveled to France, where he had the opportunity to work with renowned doctors and deepen his insight into the impacts of daily choices on human health. TISSOT was a man who saw beyond the obvious. He understood that small habits shape vitality and that energetic exhaustion could compromise not only the body, but also the mind and the ability to achieve success. Prosperity. This differentiated vision led him to develop theories that would influence generations. What makes his career so impressive is the fact that he never settled for common knowledge. TISSOT studied philosophical and medical references, questioned dogmas, and sought to understand how different traditions treated the topic of vital energy. He understood that science could not ignore the spiritual side of the human being. And if we stop to reflect, aren't we ignoring ancient truths today in the name of modernity? Perhaps the secret to a fulfilling life lies precisely in revisiting what was left behind. For Samuel TISSOT, vital energy was a precious resource, and wasting it could lead to serious health consequences. He believed that the human body functioned as an interconnected system, where any excess resulted in imbalance. Frequent ejaculation, according to him, was not just a moral issue, but a biological one. Each loss represented a drain of fluids essential for the proper functioning of the organism. This view may seem old-fashioned to some, but, interestingly, many ancient Eastern practices share the same idea. After all, how often do people complain about tiredness, lack of focus, and lack of motivation without realizing that their daily choices are directly linked to how they feel? TISSOT linked the constant loss of vital fluids to problems such as chronic fatigue, digestive difficulties, and even memory impairment. Today, studies on bioenergy and neuroscience indicate that moderation in sexual activity can indeed impact mental clarity and disposition. Many high-performance athletes avoid relationships before competitions, and monks from different traditions talk about the benefits of energy retention. Is there more truth to this than you think? Perhaps the key to recovering peace interior and strengthen the connection with the light is understanding the importance of this energy and knowing how to preserve it. TISSOT's great point was not just abstinence, but the conscious use of vital energy. He did not preach a life of deprivation, but of balance. The human body is a reservoir of power, capable of generating prosperity and vitality when well managed. The question that remains is, can modern society, with its fast pace and constant stimuli, still be able to perceive this reality? Or are we so distracted that we ignore our own body signals? TISSOT did not formulate his theories out of thin air. He delved deeply into the texts of Greek philosophers, ancient doctors, and spiritual traditions that already discussed the importance of vital energy. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, emphasized that moderation was the key to health and that excess in any area could lead to the breakdown of body and mind. Pythagoras, in turn, believed that energy retention strengthened the intellect and elevated the spirit. These references directly influenced TISSOT's thinking, who sought a balanced approach between science and spirituality. After all, what makes more sense? Following your impulses without question or learning to manage your own vital force to achieve peace and prosperity? The curious thing is that this wisdom was not limited to Western philosophy. In the East, practices such as Taoism and yoga have always defended the idea that sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces of the human being and that, when used well, it can generate transformation in all areas of life. The concept of prana, in India, and spend, in China, demonstrate that retaining this energy can amplify vitality, mental clarity, and even intuition. TISSOT may not have had direct contact with these traditions, but his thinking resonated with what different cultures had been teaching for centuries. If so many teachers and philosophers pointed to the same path, why does modern society insist on ignoring this wisdom? Are we so immersed in distractions that we move away from essential truths? What would happen if more people started looking at their life energy as a sacred resource, a gift from God, creator of the universe, instead of something banal and disposable? Perhaps this is one of the keys to rescuing a state of plenitude that many don't even imagine is possible. TISSOT's claims about the effects of masturbation and the frequent loss of vital fluids were undoubtedly radical for many. He did not hesitate to say that excess could lead to severe consequences, such as extreme weakness, mental decline, and even paralysis. By the standards of the time, these statements were enough to alarm society and generate heated debates. But was there any truth to it? Today, we know that the body's energy is a finite resource and that compulsive habits can indeed have negative impacts. The problem is that in today's culture, any attempt to talk about moderation is seen as repression. Have people lost the ability to reflect on their own well-being? Despite the dramatic tone of his statements, TISSOT's central idea remains relevant. When the body is repeatedly deprived of its essential elements, it is natural for a loss of vitality to occur. Several modern studies show that excess stimulation and immediate pleasure generate desensitization of the brain, making people less productive, more anxious, and constantly dissatisfied. The question few ask is this culture of instant gratification robbing people of their ability to achieve true happiness, peace, and others' prosperity? TISSOT may have been extreme, but the essence of his message was simple. Balance is key. The irresponsible use of vital energy can create a cycle of exhaustion and discouragement, undermining human potential. Many only realize the impact of this when they are already trapped in destructive patterns. What if there was a way to regain that strength? If there was a way to restore the connection with light, increase focus and determination? This reflection leads us to an even more intriguing point. With the advancement of science, many of TISSOT's ideas were revised, but interestingly, some of his observations continue to make sense. Modern neuroscience, for example, shows that an excess of immediate pleasure, whether through pornography, compulsive masturbation, or any other addiction, can deregulate the brain's dopaminergic system, causing symptoms such as lack of motivation, anxiety, and even depression. This aligns with TISSOT's view on the frequent loss of necessary fluids and its impact on the body's energy. If science is beginning to reflect this effect, could it be so wrong? Today, many experts are studying the emergence of post-orgasmic illness syndrome, where some individuals report extreme fatigue, mental confusion, and even depressive symptoms after ejaculation. Even though the name is new, the ecological concept that TISSOT has been saying for centuries. Additionally, practices such as semen retention have been gaining popularity, not just for spiritual reasons, but for reported benefits such as increased energy, greater mental clarity, and even a renewed sense of self. Peace interior. Could this ancient wisdom be returning because humanity has finally realized it has lost something valuable? The big question is, if science begins to validate certain aspects of energy retention, why is this topic still treated as taboo? The modern world seems obsessed with satisfying impulses unbridledly, without considering the consequences. But what if the secret to a fuller, more prosperous, are you exactly capable of controlling this energy? Will those who learn to manage their life force be able to unlock a level of power and clarity that most have never experienced? Many who have experienced semen retention report a significant change in their energy, mental clarity, and even their perception of life. This is not just a theoretical concept or an old belief, but something that can be tested in practice. Anyone who has gone through periods of conscious abstinence notices a natural increase in disposition, a renewed focus, and a stronger presence in the world. This confirms what TISSOT has been suggesting for centuries. Vital energy, when preserved and directed correctly, can transform a person's life. But the question is, how many are actually willing to test this for themselves? Some may think this practice is irrelevant or exaggerated, but just look around. How many people are exhausted, without motivation, and without the strength to pursue their dreams? How many spend their energy without even realizing the impact of this on their body, mind, and even their connection with the world? Creator of the universe. Those who experience semen retention report not only physical benefits but also a state of peace deeper, as if a fog had been lifted from his consciousness. Could this ancient knowledge be the key to restoring a lost balance? The fact is that we live in a society that encourages exhaustion, instant pleasure, and constant distraction. But does following this path really lead to prosperity and well-being? Those who learn to control their impulses and direct their energy towards something greater often achieve extraordinary feats. What if the secret to a fulfilling life was exactly what most people ignore? Maybe it's time to reflect on this in more depth. Now that you understand the real impact of withholding sex, the question is, what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to ignore it and continue wasting your vital energy without realizing the consequences, or are you going to try it for yourself and feel the difference? Many go their entire lives without knowing that they are giving away their strength without getting anything in return. But those who learn to control this energy discover a power that transforms their peace, your prosperity, and even its connection with the Creator of the universe. Have you ever wondered why so many men today feel tired, unfocused, and unmotivated? Is it just a coincidence, or is there something much bigger going on? The truth is that this pleasure-addicted society is immediately draining your energy without you even realizing it. But what if you could regain your strength, your mental clarity, and your determination? The great masters knew this secret, and now you know it too. The only question is, do you have the courage to apply this knowledge? If this content made sense to you, like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue learning about this and other topics that can transform your life. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any powerful insights. And tell me here in the comments, have you ever experienced semen retention? What changed in your life? Let's exchange experiences and deepen this journey together.